Hey mamas! I'm Jess.
I'm Erica.
And on today's episode, we have a mother of two. She has recently come to light that she's experienced in a previous relationship. We love talking about motherhood and womanhood. We're here to discuss the topic today.
Hi there.
How are you? How are you doing? How's your day been?
My day's been really well. Because I knew I was doing this today. I was like extremely organized. Can't lie. I've been a lot better since last week. Saturday, I had an absolute meltdown. Like, I was in bed the whole day, didn't shower, didn't eat. I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was actually literally shaking in bed. I think it's out there now, but I am a lot better.
I was just going to say, what you just described sounds like my day-to-day life.
Do you suffer from anxiety?
Yeah. I feel like half the world does. How was lockdown number 2? It's almost over. How's it treated you?
You know what? It hasn't affected me whatsoever. I don't want it to be over because then everyone's going to start going out and I don't want to go out and I don't want to feel pressured to go
same.
to going out.
People have already started planning and I'm like, guys, like we need to maintain in groups of 6. You're not in my bubble anymore, so...
Do you know what? I was even considering spending Christmas home alone with just the kids and like not going to my mum's for the first time ever. And now that Boris has said we're allowed to, for fuck's sake, like, why?
I tried to say that to my mum and she was like, Boris is not going to be in your living room. It's like, fucking
I'm
hell.
always having to get on a cab on on Christmas Eve with a load of gifts to bring the exact same gifts plus more back to my house. Do you know how pointless that is?
Do you know what like pisses me off? Everyone in itself, they always are, you shouldn't eat past like 7 or past 8 because like, it's bad for your body. Why do we wait until like after 12 to eat at Christmas? Like I get to my mum's house and I'm like, I want to eat now. Like I'm hungry.
So on Christmas Eve, I try to get there as late as possible so I don't have to help with anything. So my mum's like, Bea, son las 8 de la noche, usted nada, que llega, ya voy.
Mama's Code. For everyone listening, over the past couple of weeks, there's been a lot of craziness happening on social media. Honestly, from just a lot has gone on that it's pushed a lot of people to just back off because it was exhausting. One of the things that we was touched with was obviously your stories. We thought it was very courageous. We overthink things and we always think, what are people going to say? And are people going to say it's for following? Are people going to be like, shut up, go tell your friends and your family? Why does it have to be on Instagram? So obviously you were one person that started to express and voice out how you were feeling and what you were experiencing. So my first question was, when did you notice the red flags, if you even noticed them?
I don't think I did. And I was in denial for a very, very, very long time. Even till probably 3 years ago, I was still in denial that was me, that I'd been in a domestic abusive relationship. Like for me, it was like, no, it's not that. I'd always make excuses for him. I had a friend that would tell me, but Drea, he's done this, he's done that. And I'd get angry at her. Obviously, I wouldn't tell her that I was angry at her. I'd just be like, yeah. And because he always said to me, but I don't leave you black and blue. There's certain phrases that he has said to me, like disrespectful phrases like that one, or even the black and blue one, that have stuck to me. So because he always said that to me, I used to always make excuses and think, that's true. You've never actually left me in a hospital bed. So I always identified domestic violence to leaving someone in hospital, or for example, like the film Murdered by My Boyfriend, someone that got killed by their boyfriend or something like that. So I don't think that at the beginning I saw many flags, but they were definitely there because there was a lot of lies. There was a lot of patronizing that I didn't actually, see. But I think the first time I could say that, even though I didn't think of it as it was red flags at the time, was when I was pregnant with my first son. I was 18 at the time. And he said, I don't know if I should say exactly what he said because it was quite vulgar what he said. And it was over some really petty argument where I wanted to go somewhere that he didn't want me to go to. But I wanted to go there because I didn't trust him. And I felt like I needed to be there. I remember this being by email, the things that were said, and then through the phone we got into a huge argument and he was like, you cannot come. And then he referred to me as a cock sucking whore. And those words have stuck to me like glue. Like I've never in my life been able to get over those words, because I couldn't believe, because at that time he had never been that disrespectful. So for him to say something that to me, that was so shocking. And it was like, I'm pregnant with your child, regardless of how young we were. You don't say that to somebody. And then he immediately began to say things like, you're not ready to be a parent. You need to have an abortion. You need to get rid of it. You're not ready. You're scum, like horrible things. So that was the first sign. But again, because he apologized, it was like I brushed it under the carpet and moved on. And with a lot of things that happened, that's all I ever did, because he had a way of literally just convincing me of the total opposite. Because from the beginning, when I got pregnant, my first thing that I said to him was that I didn't even want to be with him anymore. I was just tired of so much drama. So when I got pregnant, I don't know if you guys have heard that, like you get pregnant and como que le coge pereza a uno a ellos. That is literally what happened to me. Like I couldn't stand him. I couldn't bear to look at him. I just looked at him and I was like, oh my God, like what have I done to myself? So I think that was like the first flag that I saw.
Do you know what? I feel like it's really difficult to spot the red flag when it's happening, because like, for example, when I was with my ex, he dropped this comment saying, you're not going there because I don't want you to go. And yeah, he wasn't hitting me or anything, but it was like, who are you to control my life like this? And I remember the first time I was like, oh my God, no, I'm not going to go, because God forbid he's going to get pissed off with me. So what if he's going to get pissed off? And then the second time round, he said it again. He was like, no, you're not going out with your friends. And I was like, nah, fuck you. And I went out, and then that whole week we didn't speak. And just that in itself, had I not been rebel, I guess, enough to go against his word, and have I, every single time he said that, kind of stuck to his word, because he would have felt like he could manipulate me and kind of control my life. So I understand why it can be very difficult to see the red flags.
Yeah.
And especially when you've had heated arguments, you would just say things, you just don't really think what you're saying.
Another of the flags that I saw that I didn't see, that now looking back on it, was that he left me in a lot of debt. From the very start, from when I was pregnant, I got him a contract, a phone contract. And I laugh now because I've got nothing but, like, there's no point in me crying about it, being upset. He maxed it out. I don't know, I can't remember what he did, but I ended up paying. And the worst thing of all was that these calls were to his ex-girlfriend. And I paid £600 worth of bill whilst I was pregnant. So that, because I didn't want to be in debt, obviously. So I was like, you know what, let me just clear that debt out and we won't have to do it again. And he did it again as following time. So yeah, I never saw these things. And if I would have seen that, I wouldn't have got to where I am right now.
Do you know one of the things that why this, like, your story touched me so much? And it's because, like, and I know you touched on it as well, you know, a lot of people would be like, oh, you know, the bitter baby mummy, why is she reaching out just now? But with my ex-boyfriend, I was also the same. That's why I can
relate.
Yeah, like I can see, you know, it's not obvious. Like when you're in love, you basically are blind. And I was telling Jess just before you jumped on, this guy used to play me in my face. And I would confront him about it. And he would be like, no, you're just seeing things. I would see emails that he would send to other girls. He would add girls right, left and centre, and I'd be like, why are you adding them? Like, it, you know, like, have some respect for me. Some of his answers were like, oh, I really liked her display picture because it was a picture of a dog. And I would fall for all of this stupidness. Obviously, you've mentioned this as well, but something that really touched me was that he goes for your family, and this guy went for my family too. He would always say things like, oh, if you ever played me, I will go for your nephew, I will do something to your mum, I'll do something to your dad. And I'd always be like, but why do you have to start amenazándome? Like, what is the need? Like, it's a me and you relationship. Let's sort it out between. But he always found a way to kind of twist it and como meterme fe that if you were to do this will happen. I won't do anything to you because I know you'll get over it, but I'll, like, le doy más le duele, basically. It was his saying.
Yeah.
I remember living in fear. Like, he drove me to be alone. Like, I didn't have friends. I like lived at my mum's house, but I did not come out of my room because that's how alone he wanted me to be. And it took forever for me to realize.
The social media thing, he used to, like, for example, would wake up any day of the week and he would message at least 10 girls the same thing: hi babe, hi babe, hi babe, to see who would reply first. And he would have all these and it's not normal.
No,
you can't be in a relationship and be messaging, like, you don't even need to message the next person, like the next, not even one girl, because if you want to be having conversations with another girl, I'm here for that.
Do you think he is suffering from sex addiction? Because the amount of times I've heard this from men that they're like, oh my god, no, but I'm sorry, I just had to, but I think I'm going through this sex addiction thing, and so they find this as an excuse to go and pursue other women.
I really don't know, but he definitely has a problem, because it's not a thing when he was younger, because it's still happening now. So it's definitely an issue that I hope he finds help for, honestly. Another thing that I can relate to with the whole family thing is that he really did used to isolate me. Like, for example, my mum even noticed, because I told my mum about everything I did on social media, and I was so scared because I was like, "Mom, I con la chancla," but it was because my mum don't believe in none of these things. Like, and when I told her, I was like, "Mom, look, I've got to tell you something, and you're gonna be mad, but I've done it now. There's no going back. It's out there. My abuela might hear from it." Like, and she was like, I told her, and then she was like, "No, mija, like, I support you for everything." And I remember when she said, I remember when you used to come to the house with him, and out of nowhere, you'd be like, oh, I've got to go. But it was because all along he'd be texting me, I'm bored, I want to go home. Or even when I'd visit my mum, he would do the exact same thing. He used to isolate me from my friends, in terms like, for example, if, let's say, you guys came to my house and you guys were cool with him, he would stay there for like 5 minutes, and when you least expected it, he'd be in the room. And I'm not being funny, like, that would make anyone feel awkward. Like, oh, he's left. So, like, my friends would be like, oh, I've got to go, kind of thing. And I'd be like, yeah, I knew that he wanted them to go. And it was always the same. But if it was his friends, oh, like, it would be like, yeah, like, he would be, babe, get the vino out, get the like, do you know what I mean? He'd give them la mejor atención, but because it was my friends, it was never like that. And it was really, I didn't see it at the time. I saw it way afterwards. And I became a very antisocial person. Like, the amount of messages that I got last week saying like, oh my god, I thought you were such a bitch. And I was like, yeah, thanks. Which I can be, but not to the extent that I was before.
Can I just say something? Again, we were talking about this before you came on. Jess was like, oh, Flacca rolled her eyes at me, and I'm like, who didn't she roll her eyes at? She, like, her eyes were always like at the back of her head with everyone.
The thing is, me and Jess were actually, I don't think Jess remembers.
No, she does.
Mate, I remember every single bitch that did me wrong. I'm not referring to you as a bitch, I'm just saying.
I didn't even do you that wrong, because I actually didn't mind you. Like, we were, I don't think you remember this, but before your quince, me and you used to be really good MSN friends.
Erica, I told you, I was not lying. We used to speak literally every single day.
Before.
We once met up in Seven Sisters in the station. And then, like, fast forward probably 24 hours, the girl started rolling her eyes at me, and I'm thinking like, I lost a friend.
It was probably because of an ex.
I've had one ex in my life. Imagine.
I was pissing myself.
Definitely had a problem with Erica.
But you know what? This is one thing that Erica mentioned. It's like, whatever went on, however many times you rolled eyes at us, it's like, we're united here because we're women, and we need to be united with each other and stand behind each other.
Mama's Code.
I'm not trying to like tell a sob story or anything, but I think one of the things that didn't help me was that I lost my dad at 17. So that really took a toll on me and who I was as a person. Like, I was just always miserable, literally. And then I got with the kid's father, and it just made it 10 times worse. Like, I don't think I even had time to heal. I think I proper processed losing my dad during my daughter's pregnancy and accepted why he had passed away, because I was very in denial for a very, very long time. And then, yeah, being in the relationship that I was didn't help. Being a young mum as well, it takes a toll on you, because I'm sure you guys as parents now, you know how hard it is. So imagine on top of that, being 18 with a child, having everyone look at you like, oh, you're the teenage pregnant girl. And me being me, like, I feel like I isolated myself a lot. I learned a lot with my second daughter, with my daughter. Like, for example, with her, I would let her get dirty and I wouldn't care about how messy the house is. And I'd just go out to play group and come back, cook dinner. With my son, I was always like, I have to clean. He has to look clean. Everything has to look perfect. And by the time I'd done all of that, it was like 4 and it was dark and no one was going anywhere. So I definitely loosened up a bit more in terms of as a parent.
I've spoken to Jess a lot about this, you know, even when you're, and I'm always one to say, when you're in a relationship and you're in love and stuff, I always ask the question, if you get played, would you leave the person? If you're in a long-term relationship, I can guarantee you won't, because there's just too many years invested into this, you know. Sometimes you've got to give it a second try. Like, you probably gave a 15-year-old boy a chance. Like, why can't you give the person you've dedicated your life with? Now, adding kids to it, it's more difficult to let go. And I think for the most part, that's why many women decide to stay in toxic and abusive relationships, because they're always thinking, he's going to change. You know, I need to do this for the kids. At what point did you think this is enough? Like, I can't do anymore?
Yeah, well, you're definitely right about not being able to leave, because I personally thought that, first of all, he always put it in my head that, you know, single mums were just a big no-no. So I put it in my head as well like that. At first, no, I thought, yeah, I can definitely do this on my own. But then the longer I was with him, he put it in my head that we needed to be a family. So I was like, yeah, definitely not. So we separated the first time when my son was 2. But I felt like that was a half-hearted separation, because I'd still be pendiente of everything he would do. He would be pendiente of what I did. Like, we still argue. Like, it was pretty much we were still together, but separated and still doing our own shit. The second time round, I always said to myself, if I ever separate from him again, I'm never getting back with him again, because I'm not doing this whole break up and make up and whatever. And what made me say no more was having my daughter. When I gave birth to my daughter, like, she was premature, and we had to stay in hospital for a week. So in the process of that week, I would have expected him to be more, yes, can I help? So yeah, I think being in hospital that whole week and seeing my mum run around for me and do everything on her own, and he was coming at whatever time he thought it was like convenient for him to come around, and giving me the silly excuse that, oh, I'm just, you know, focusing on my son because he's been neglected. No one was neglecting him. He'd had us for a whole 6 years to himself. I'm sure he could do with 1 week off of us. Like, it wasn't that deep. He was fine. But it was just an excuse, because he didn't want to have to do the hard work of staying up late in hospital with me, doing the feeds, changing the nappy. So my mum was doing all of that. And when we got home, it was the same thing. And then I then started to use it as an excuse. No, at first it was because I had to sleep with the baby. But then I realized it was working and I didn't need them in my room anymore. So I was like, oh yeah, we can't sleep together because of the baby. So it became my excuse now, because I used to hate him seeing them laying down, like dribbling and snoring. And I just think, oh, you're just horrible. Like, you're just laying there. I just hated him. So I was like, do you know what? I can't stand him anymore. And I went out on my first night out after years of going out. And I remember someone asking me, are you happy? And I said, yeah. But this person didn't believe me. And he said, you're not happy. You aren't genuinely happy. And you need to go back home and ask yourself if you actually are happy. And I did. I went home and I think I spent like a week proper thinking about what this person said to me. And after that week, I turned around and I said to him, yeah, it's done. Like, you need to go. We are over. I don't love you anymore. It's just, yeah, it was done. But then he obviously didn't accept it. At that moment, that's when everything just turned around, and I actually never thought it could have got worse than what it was.
We always have this perception of, like, we should be a family and we we can't leave the dad of our children, and we have all this fantasy life in our head. So for you to actually go home and think, am I happy? And to realize that you're not, and to leave, that's so big, because some people stay for comfort. Some people stay because their partners are their best friends, because they've spent so many years together, because you guys, when you're good, you're like really good and you have a great time and you laugh at. But sometimes it's like we see past the fact that maybe there's no love in a romantic way and in a relationship way, but more of friends. It's really big for you to actually go home and realize, yeah, he's the father of my kids, but I don't want you.
Like I said, I've only got my mum and my sister, so you could say I've got a small family. All my family are back home. I've got a big family, but they're all back home. So losing him meant that I'd be completely on my own. So that fear of being alone would have held me back from leaving him all the time, because I'd be like, if I leave him, then who's gonna help me with the kids? Like, yeah, just the fear of being alone, to be honest.
Did you ever feel guilty, as for example, he said, you make me this way, you make me angry like this, and so you felt like you were the one that had to say sorry?
Well, I have said sorry, because I know that I'm not perfect, but I've definitely felt guilty because, one, I've let him push me to the point where I've lost composure and I've shouted, and my kids have been there, and it's not fair on them that they have to see all of that and go through all of it. I felt guilty for not leaving beforehand. I felt guilty for believing him so many times that he was going to change, that he wasn't going to do any more of whatever it was that he did. I felt guilty for my bad judgment of character. And one thing that I've always said, and my main advice to anybody is, before you get with anybody, please, honestly, go and meet their family first, because knowing the background of someone's upbringing is so important. And if I had known his upbringing and the background of his family, I would have never ever gone there. So those things are definitely things that I felt guilty for. I felt guilty for, the traumas that I may cause my children because of the experiences they've had to live through our breakup, just for reacting and cussing him.
When you say that, obviously when you told him that this is it and it got worse, do you mean worse in the way that he wouldn't leave, or he just made your life hell?
Both of them, to be honest, because so this was September 2016. So he kept saying, oh, I'm going to leave next month. Give me till December. Give me till January. Give me till Feb. Like, all the time changing the dates, and he wouldn't leave. And it was just so horrible. Like, honestly, it was like living in hell throughout that whole. He ended up leaving in August, because I remember it was bank holiday weekend, and he said he was going to his mum's. So I was like, okay. I literally locked the door when he came back. I didn't open the door, and I remember it like it was yesterday. He stood by my kitchen window, like begging me. I said, hell no, you are not coming back. And it was the best decision I could have ever made, because if I would have never done it that day, he'd probably still be here. So it was for the best. And it got worse because the verbal abuse and the physical abuse got the worst it had ever been, ever. Since last year till now, I've taken more and more control of my life, but it's been a process. And there's been people there that have helped me, because there's been people that have made me see certain things that I shouldn't be allowing, that I would still allow, because I don't know why. Like, it was just, I didn't know how to say no to him. So obviously when I told him to leave, he didn't want to leave, and then he pulled out the depression card. That's when when he was still here, that's when the financial abuse started to happen, because he stopped working because he was depressed, but he would tell me that he was going back work next week and next week and next week. So I kept saying, if you're not going to work, let me go to work. If you can't find the strength in you to go to work, then you know what, let me go. But he would never, ever accept it to me. And as the months went by and the rent was just there, sitting down, piling up and going up and up and up, and more debts, council tax. And then he left, and I was left with all those debts, every single one of them. And I had to pay for them. He didn't pay for anything. Obviously, throughout that whole year that he was here, it was constantly arguing over, like, are you going to pay the rent? Are you not? And then on top of that, like, the physical part of it got even worse, because every time that I'd mentioned the rent, he would get angry and we'd argue, and it was just really, really bad. So it got to the point where I think the last incident was when I came home from, like, I think I went out, and when I left, the house phone was on the floor, and when I got back, the house phone was in the exact same place. So I'd said to him, why is the house still in the same place? That, like, why is the house still like this? And then he immediately said, well, then you do it. And then we got into a massive argument, and that escalated into him hitting me in front of the kids. And then there was another incident where he hit me whilst I was carrying. So all these incidents was the ones that helped me gain the strength to not open that door that day that I told him, you're not coming back. And then obviously after we broke up, it continued.
When he left, you said your son was 6, right? Well, he must have been 7 at this time.
Yeah, almost 7.
Was he aware of anything at this point?
Well, my son, if you was to meet him, he's quite innocent for a 10-year-old. Like, he's very, like, bubble wrap, which is not a good thing, obviously, at all times. And the other day I had to have a conversation with him, because sometimes I tend to see characteristics of his dad in him. So I worry, because I want my son to be un niño bien, with a good future, someone that's respectful, principios. So I had to sit him down and say to him, sometimes in life, we don't have to aspire to be like our parents, not because our parents are bad people, but just because we want to be better than them. And, there's nothing wrong with that, because, we're made to think that we have to be like our parents, but we don't. Like, there's so much more to life. So I was saying to him, like, unfortunately, your dad has very bad traits, and you can't have those. You have to make sure that you don't have those traits. So it was because he lied to me, and I said, that's not acceptable. I can't accept lying. As much as you're going to get in trouble, I prefer that you tell me the truth. And he's been in trouble twice for it ever since. And when he came back from his dad's this weekend, the first thing he came to tell us was that he played PlayStation at his dad's, even though he was grounded. So obviously I laughed and I said, thanks for telling. I didn't tell him off, because I was happy that he told me the truth. And I was like, well, he was naughty, but thank you for telling me. So at least he's learning. So in terms of him seeing what happened, I think he definitely has, because when we had that conversation, he said to me that he remembered when his dad had hit me. So he's definitely seen stuff.
I know someone that to now, like, when he gets angry, he se convierte. But the only thing that calms him down is the fact that he knows his parents used to be violent with each other. And it's like, it takes a lot to, for example, like, obviously you kind of stop your son and you're like, you shouldn't be lying, and you want to raise a good man, right? You want to raise him completely different. Do you feel like if your son, or say he got with a girl and you could see that he was just abusing her verbally, emotionally, however do you feel like you would stop him and just be like what the fuck?
Definitely.
Do you think you would see it?
Yeah, I would never condone violence to any woman, even if it's from my own family member. And I've experienced something similar like that years ago when I was a child from someone in my family. I saw it, and I was a child, and that the person abusing the girl was a family member of mine, and I called the police on them, because I don't condone that. I don't care if you're blood. I don't care if you think that I'm a traitor, but I do not condone anyone laying hands on a woman. I think it's horrible.
This is obviously a question that you might not be able to answer, but men usually, when you have a daughter, you'd think a guy would want to be someone to aspire, like you look up to this person, because what your daughter is seeing is what she has to kind of like, what she's going to get in the future. So, my mom does this, and like kind of what you say, like you look up to your parents, like say us, like our Latin culture, la mujer siempre goes, as soon as the man gets home, we go serve the food, because it's within our culture. As a man, do you not think that his actions will kind of make your daughter think it's okay to be the way he is with you? Because
I think they think of it. No, actually, I don't even think some men even think of it, because if they did, they wouldn't even do half of the stuff that they do.
Exactly.
Genuinely believe in karma, and I'm going to tell you guys why. It's like one thing after the other in my life, honestly. This week, I found out that my son is being bullied at school. Like, they're saying really horrible things. When I found out, obviously, I spoke to the teacher. I was really angry because it's not the first time that it's happened. So I was like, what are you teaching your kids at your school? And I said to him, this is why my daughter doesn't go to your school. I wanted him to finish with his year group all the way through tier 6. But if this continues, I will remove him and I'll take him out of school, even if I have to homeschool him, because you are ruining my child's innocence. So if you think that it's all right for a 10, 11-year-old to say the things that they're saying, and you guys not, I want them to be excluded at least for a week, because that's the thing. You see, with bullying, because they don't actually do anything about it, kids continue to do it, and then they go into secondary school and it gets worse. And this is why there's so many gang members and so many kids bullying other kids, because nothing is done about it from a very early stage. So I've said I've got a meeting on Monday, and I'm gonna request apology letters from all parents and kids, and I want them excluded for a week. And if that doesn't happen, well, I don't know what's going to happen, because I'm tired of it. And the first thing that I thought after talking to the teacher was, this is karma for everything that his dad has done. Now my son is having to pay for it, because I've known of times where he's bullied other people, and it's the same thing like we were saying about the daughter. You've gone and done these things to women. It's the same thing. My son is now paying for your mistakes. Because my son, I said to him, what did you do? Nothing. I haven't done anything. I haven't said anything. I said, you know what? Tell them you're going to break them. Cuss their mum. I don't care. At this point, tell them your mum's going to come and beat up their mum. Because I can't. That's my baby. Like, you know, that's like, it's hurt me. And the fact that my son doesn't defend himself, it just shows that I'm raising such a good boy. Not because some people are like, oh no, but why haven't you taught him to just fight? No, because I'm raising someone that's going to be out in the world talking to a lot of other people, and I've got to show him respect for other people. But unfortunately, so I blame the parents, to be honest.
100%. That's learnt behaviour at home. But yeah, no, it is a question that was rolling around in my head, because it's like, as a man, con que cara are you going to try to defend your daughter if you've been an abuser? If your daughter comes home with a bruise, comes home, even if it's not physical, but mentally, if she's being belittled, if she's being cussed, if she's, you know, there's so many ways that a man can make us feel this small. What is he going to say?
Exactly. And imagine the daughter telling the boyfriend, oh yeah, my dad used to beat my mum, and then the dad comes and tries to defend her for doing the same thing. That guy is going to look at him and be like, fuck off, literally. Like, this, they're not gonna have any sort of respect for you because you've done the exact same thing.
Or even worse, for her to grow up and think this is normal. Like, would you get to a point of having a conversation with your daughter to say, like, obviously not yet, but
I've had that conversation with them already, but not with, she's still 4, she's quite innocent, she doesn't see what's going on, she's quite smart. Unfortunately, I can't repeat the comments that she makes because it would be talking about certain people, but she makes very funny comments sometimes that I'm like, you are so cheeky and you know exactly what's going on between mum and certain individuals, but it is too funny.
I could just imagine what she's saying, to be honest. let's not get cancelled this year.
Exactly.
Mama, I love you.
As parents, and I think me and Jess have always thought of this, you know, we always think, okay, if we were to break up with our partners, we would want them to be with like a nice person. Like, although like obviously in a, you know, fairy world, we want to be with the partner, but sometimes it doesn't happen and we move. Normally we would want to have like an okay relationship with the dad and with the other half person. How hard is it when there's just so much toxicity? Yeah.
Do you know what? When there's no feelings involved, it's really easy. Like, I'm not gonna lie, the first time that I found out that he was with somebody was after we broke up straight, like literally a couple of months later. I didn't take it too well. Even though I was the one that didn't want to be with him, it's like a control thing that we women have.
Yeah, like, why would you? It's like, you replaced me like this. Why would we be happy about it?
And it's also the fact that one of the reasons why I always stayed as well was because it was like, oh my God, I've put so much time and energy and effort into this relationship, and you're going to go do everything I taught you, everything I gave you, you're going to go give to this next person. So that held me back. And it's so crazy because a lot of people messaged me after my live, and one of the messages was from the girl apologizing. And I said to her, do you know what? So much has happened in these past 3 years that I'd forgotten about you, but you don't have anything to be sorry about, because I understand that anything he said to you was obviously going to make you believe him and not me, and that's fine. But since then, he's had several relationships, and I have not felt a type of way. I did at the beginning of finding out, because I knew he was introducing them to my kids. So that's why it bothered me. But apart from that, I never ever got involved. Like I think, do you know what really, one of the things that really bothered me, the main thing, so I'd make comments to him sometimes, it was only because he would make it so difficult for me to even dare to tell him, oh, I'm in a relationship. And he would say stuff like, no one is ever going to take you seriously and you're going to get fucked and left. I was really insecure for a really long time. I felt like, yeah, like I've got 2 kids. No one's ever going to take me seriously. Like, I'm just going to be that girl. It isn't hard to get on with the person because I tried it. So with one of his girlfriends, we built a relationship, and that was the girl that I posted the voice notes about. And she was so understanding to the point. Do you know what? Like, one day they'd made plans, but he'd also made plans to take the kids. And she's called me and she's like, Drea, like, listen, he's made plans. And I'm like, listen, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be the bitch mum, but he needs to be responsible. And she said, it's fine. I'm sorry. I even said anything. And she continued her day. She didn't argue with me. She didn't say, oh, Drea, but why? And she was always really supportive. If anything, she was always the one looking out for the kids, telling me he did this, he did that. Drea, I don't like the way he talks. Whatever he did wrong, she would come and tell me. It was a really good relationship. I must add that when he cheated on her, I was the one that told her, because there's power in it. You can't. I couldn't let that slide. Like, you can't be doing that to her. She was a lovely girl.
She's so proud.
But you know what? Before a woman gets involved with a baby daddy, you need to make sure that man is straight with your kids. You need to make sure that that man is being the father and dad that child needs. Before anything, before pussy, before bros, before absolutely anything. Because if that man is failing his own children, his own blood, why do you think he's going to be any good? And just you as a woman, whether you hate the baby mom or whatever it is.
Do you know what? I couldn't agree more. But that is my main issue with his current partner. You can't tell me that he's a good dad. How can you tell me that he's a good dad? I find it disrespectful. The fact that you think you can come and tell me after 5 minutes that he's a good dad. My friends are like, you've been too nice, because you do not know what I have been through, what I have dealt with, what I'm still continuing dealing with, for you to come and tell me that he's a good dad just because during a pandemic, he was forced to spend more time with the kids. Not willingly, forced to, because I put my foot down and I said, you know what? We're in the middle of a pandemic. I've had enough. You're taking them more time, and I'm going to have some free time for myself for the first time in years. And I did. You know what? I had a really good time them days that the kids went. I would go out, I'd see my friends. It was really nice. It was stuff that I'd never been able to do. Because as a parent, as a mother, when do we ever get a whole 10 days off to ourselves? Ever. So I did not, and I'm telling you now, I did not feel guilty one bit about the kids being with their dad. But obviously, her not having kids, she would never understand that. And she tried to compare me having kids to her having a little sister. And I felt so offended. So offended. I said, you could never, ever imagine. And I get it. You see, like, when you're in the beginning of a relationship, you don't want your other half to see your flaws as a parent. So you are going to be A1 parent. A1. You're going to pretend like your kids don't get on your nerves. Your kids are perfect. You've never told them off. You've never shouted at them. It happened. So of course, at the beginning, he was showing her all these things. But there are a lot of things that, if I saw them things as a woman, how do I explain it? If I was in the position where I was with a man that had kids, I couldn't do that. Because, for example, I'd want to make sure that he's providing for his kids. And knowing me, how nosy I am, I'd be like, oh yeah, what did you get? Like, I would want to know what you're doing for them. Just the fact that if a man brings their kids to my house for a week and the kid's mum doesn't know, that's the first red flag I'm seeing. I'm going to be like, no, this is unacceptable. It's very sad because it's like, yeah, there's no solidarity. There's no understanding. You're not a parent. You're never going to understand. I'm not going to lie. I've been really, really mad the last couple of days. And yeah, I got off the live. I got in the shower, got ready because I had a birthday, and went to my friend's house. And just as I was about to eat my food, I got a message from her, and she'd sent me 4 pages of a note. I saved it, and I was like, I'm not even going to read this right now because I don't want to ruin my meal. And I was drinking coffee Patron, and I was like, hell no, like this is not, like this 2 mixes aren't good. So I've messaged someone and I'm like, listen, can you read them for me? And they've read them and they're like, please, Andrea, do not respond to the messages. I'm like, fine. At 1 a.m, my phone rings and it's him. So I'm like, hello, are the kids fine? Yeah, fine. I was like, okay, then we've got nothing to speak about. No, please, I said, you are breaking my rule. I said, I gave you a curfew 2 weeks ago. No, you can't call me past 8 p.m. So this is now, you're complete disrespecting my free time. I've hung up now, called again, I've picked up, it's her. I said to her, you both are disrespecting my free time. If the kids are fine, I don't need to speak to either of you. They've hung up now. She's like, okay, can I speak to you tomorrow morning? In the morning, she's now called me. She's messaged me and said, what time can I call you? And then deleted the message and blocked me. And then he's called me. When I tell you guys, it is the most scripted apology I have ever heard in my life. That this is why I've been mad the whole week, but I've just had to kind of let it go. The relationship was already hard anyway, getting on with him, but she has made it twice as difficult because I think she worships the ground that he walks on, and she doesn't realize that, okay, maybe he is changing, but it's not a genuine change. I believe that, okay, cool, sometimes you can get with someone and that person can help you change, but you need to want to change yourself. And to get with her, he already cheated on somebody and hurt her.
Do you know what did it for me? And as soon as you said it, I was like, unfollow. He deserves a weekend off.
She said it to me several times. In the message that she sent me, a few things stood out. And one of them was that I disrespect her. So I was like, where do I disrespect you? And she said that I disrespect her because I mentioned his ex-girlfriends to her. And I don't know if I'm stupid or what, but I don't think that's disrespect, because it's not like I'm saying to her, oh, his ex-girlfriends are better than you. Never. I've always just tried to tell her why it is that I'm acting the way I am and that I've always had a good relationship with the exes. I think he's told her that I want him back, honestly, because it's got to be that. Because what else could it be? It has to be that, because for her to turn around and say that I want to break them up, it's ridiculous. Because hands up, look, honestly, I promise you, I really want him to get married and have kids and move on, as long as he provides for his kids and looks after them on the days that he has to. Like, I'm glad that he's moved on, because ever since he's had a girlfriend, I got my life back. So for me, him breaking up with her is a big no-no. Like, he has to stay there. Please don't leave him, because I can't bear with having to deal with him again. She was like, we've done everything you've asked us to do. He's gotten a job now. Hello, excuse me. He's 30. He should have had a job regardless. Second of all, she said, we've moved into our new home together, bought the kids furniture, clothes and everything they need. They don't even have their own space. And if you've bought all these things for the kids, I don't have to be grateful for that. Like, I really don't. And I think the other thing that proper got to me was like, she was like, oh, you don't have a bad thing to say about me. You've manipulated me with the kids. How can I manipulate you with the kids? They're mine. They're my kids. I couldn't possibly do that. If I've told you that I don't want you around my kids anymore. It's because I've changed my mind on the opinion of what I had for you. But even then, I've still let you be around them. I could easily just be like, no, you are not going around my kids. Before this all happened, I posted on my story, because I said to him, what would you do if I said you couldn't have the kids around her? And he said, well, then I wouldn't pick them up because I live with her now. And I said, wow, your priorities are so messed up. It's crazy, because my kids come before anything. And I've been in a situation where I've been in a not in a relationship, but with somebody, and they haven't met my kids yet. And I've been like, okay, we can only see each other on the weekends that the kids have gone. And it's worked out for me because I've put my kids first. I definitely think you can have a good relationship with your ex's partner, as long as they're willing to just meet you halfway and watch your partners, like what they're doing as parents. You can't turn a blind eye to that, honestly.
But you see that, yeah, as a woman, and I know like not every single woman wants to be a mum, but when you get with someone and you know like she seems that she's really in love, you'd look for a future with them, no? A future brings like wedding bells, kids. Would that not show you that you know, part-time dad? So when he's with me, is he also going to require breaks because he needs breaks? But when do I get a break?
They needed a weekend off. So I said, okay, I need a week off. You need a weekend off? I need a week off. I'm great at negotiating, so we can negotiate this whole thing. So she was like, yeah, well, I'm going to start driving soon, so I can have the kids for a week. That was said in a conversation. It was never actually said, oh, it's going to happen. Can we please do the week so we can have a weekend? No one's ever said anything to me. So what you just said, I don't think she's ever thought about that, how he is going to be as a father whilst being with her. And the thing is, I don't want to talk too loud, because imagine he turns out to be the most amazing father for her kids. And I hope so, because I don't wish her any, like, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I don't wish her any bad. I don't wish him any bad. The only thing I've said to him is, please get offline, stop talking so much rubbish, focus on your kids, focus on yourself, because one of the main things that I've always said is that he needs to find help. He needs to help himself for his kids and for his future. And that's it. That's all I ask of him.
Oh God, this is a lot.
Mama, I love you.
I'm going to play the devil's advocate, yeah. Because if it's not an indecent joke that I throw out the worst time, this is just me. So
give me a reason to actually give you a dirty look next time I see you.
Have you put yourself in her shoes? Yes or no? Quick answer.
Yeah, I guess so. Because remember, I've spent 10 years of my life with him, got 2 kids. She probably does feel some way.
Yeah, because like you would compare yourself to who your man has been with, but my question is, she's in the honeymoon stage, right? She's where everything is flowers, chocolates, everything is going really good for us, right? But she's probably not doing things in a bad intention for the kids. Like, she's probably, you know, being like a good person, like, because she seems like she's gonna be a polite person around the kids, and she's not gonna be the evil stepmom, let's say. But do you think that she takes his side because obviously she's in the honeymoon phase and she's thinking she's not in that place because he's changed for me because we're in a new relationship? Because anyone would,
and he's probably feeding her lies, like,
exactly. And but the thing is, even if they're not lies, even if genuinely this guy wants to be with her, she might just be so blindly in love that she doesn't see the bits where he's complaining that I don't want them on the weekend, can you have them? Because, like, come on, let's face it, yeah, you want to have a weekend off. Whether he has them or not during the weekends or during the week, everyone deserves a weekend, right? So I get it. I get why they say, when are we going to have a weekend? But do you think that she's just so blindly in love that she just thinks, oh, you know, he's a victim here? And
obviously, because she's heard me shouting down the phone at him, and probably when I've been really mad at him, said certain things, it's easy to think, yeah, she is literally the witch of this whole story. But luckily for me, because I know that so many people know the background of the story, they know there's more to it, but it's hard for her to actually comprehend. I can also say and vouch that he is good with his words. I do sometimes put myself in her shoes, because I've been there where I'm with somebody, and, you know, sometimes I want my free time, but unfortunately I can't. But I've said to him, I think he should look for a babysitter that's reliable for the weekends that he has them. Because as much as I want to feel understanding that they need one weekend, for that my whole time that I've been separated from him, do you know how many things that I haven't been able to do for myself? I can't even go to the gym. I've had to make sacrifices. I have to stop myself from doing stuff. Like there's a lot of things that I don't get to do that he does. As much as I want to be understanding, I have to be selfish, because if I'm not, then I'm going to take on his burdens and her burdens, and who's taking mine on?
I 100% agree. Even in like the perfect home, you'd say, like I could say, sometimes I feel like I do everything around here. And when I try to tell Ollie to meet me halfway, he does realise, and he's like, oh shit, yeah, like I need to do this, I need to do that. Now with the lockdown, I'm assuming it's even worse, because like say like when the kids' school closed, I was a teacher, I also had to jump on calls, I had to clean, house is tits up because I've got a toddler and a kid trying to do work. My kid threw paint at my wall, and I was literally going insane to make him more la comida. And this is an everyday thing, like I don't get a break, so I can completely understand. But as men, and we've mentioned it a lot, is, you know, from the get-go that we become mothers, our lives completely change. Like it literally does a 180 turn. Whereas guys, they just continue as normal. They keep doing what they're doing. You know, they don't have to leave their careers. They just continue. So I can completely understand, because I felt like that. And then now living in a separated home, they even get more free time. Say with me, as soon as Ollie walks in the door, I know that the kids are his. Like, you don't get that.
As single moms, we don't get that. And what you just said about the career, that's something I think even in the scripted apology that he gave me on Saturday, he said that he was sorry for never helping me build myself and get into where I wanted to in life. Because the one thing I can say was that he actually held me back from progressing in life in so many aspects and so many ways. I've always, do you know what? I used to think so highly of him. I used to think so highly of him that I thought that he was made for big things in life. That's how blinded I was. I used to think, yeah, this guy is going to make it one day and he's going to be so good at whatever he does, and I have to encourage him. So I was like, do you know what? Yeah, that's fine. You go and work. I'll stay at home, and, you know, it will work out that way. He as well would say it wasn't my idea. It was also him. Biggest mistake ever. And any time that I tried to study or go back to work or anything, he would make it difficult and impossible for me. That's one of the things that I always say to him. I'm like, what did you sacrifice out of everything I sacrificed? What have you actually sacrificed? Till this day, nothing, realistically.
I feel like we also don't help ourselves because we're so controlling of the situation, because we know how being organized helps us get us through the days. And you know what? And then they come and blame us for overreacting when we actually explode from all the things that we've had to pile and do up and stuff. Give me a fucking break.
Do you know what? I definitely think that I learned this from a friend of mine. I tried vlogging, so this is why I rate you lot so much. Yeah,
it's fucking hard.
A couple of years ago, I gave up because I don't have the confidence, and I wasn't in the best place, so it wasn't the best time to do it anyway. And the person that I tried vlogging with, like, one of the things that I learned from her, and I love her so much because she's helped me through my whole journey, she always told me, Andrea, balance is so important in life. Balance. I went through my single mum phase where I was out every weekend, and I got a lot of criticism for it. But no one knew the background of why I was doing that, because I was trying to fill up an emptiness in me. So what would happen was the kids would leave with their dad on the weekend, and I felt so lonely, and my anxiety would kick in, and my heart would start racing, and I would just think of whoever was free. I'd be like, I'm coming to your house. Oh, there's a party, I'm going to that party. I would go out all the time. And I keep saying it, the only time that I learned to stay home alone was during lockdown. And I'm so grateful for lockdown because it helped me. As a parent, we need that time. And some people won't understand it. I've had people that say, oh no, like, I'm a parent. Like, honestly, you take yourself way too seriously.
You do. Do you know what? We've got an episode coming up of someone that got judged so much by this. And it was just like, why? Because you actually want to care for yourself and be a better person. Because at the end of the day, I know I'll have my 2 drinks, go to bed and wake up ready to deal with whatever shit is thrown at me tomorrow. And fuck it, we move. Like, I'm not an alcoholic, guys. I'm not an alcoholic.
As long as your kids are getting taken care of, you're dealing with their food, they're clean, their house is clean, it's warm, you've got electricity, you're, dealing with their education, you should be allowed to go out and have fun, because being a parent shouldn't stop you from enjoying yourself. Some people are judgy, some people are understanding, but you just got to do what makes you happy and what's best for you.
It's like you say, you need to be selfish.
Yep. I got a comment from a friend one day and he was like, Drea, you look after yourself so much more now. And I actually felt offended. Because I was like, what do you mean? Are you trying to say I didn't look after myself before? But he was like, no, I just see you like, you're just out, you're happy. It's all right to go on Pretty Little Thing and order yourself a few bits. Like, it's not always about the kids, and it's all right to pay that festival ticket that's expensive and go to the festival and enjoy yourself. Like, honestly,
You've just made me feel so much better. I've just ordered a few things.
Oh my God, me too.
What steps did you take to heal emotionally?
Get your list out.
Gets the notepad out like,
I think I don't feel like I have healed completely. I think there's honestly still a lot of healing for me to do, clearly. But one of the things that I did do was go to a domestic violence training, which helped me a lot. Because that helped me identify that I was in an abusive relationship, because even then I was like, oh my God, no, like I'm not. But listening to all the different traits that an abuser has, like, for example, there's the bully, there's the head worker, there's the prisoner. And I managed to identify a lot of these things within my ex-partner. So that's one thing that helped. The second thing, just learning to love and accept myself more. I felt like, because of the things that he used to say to me, I lost a lot of love for myself, and I used to doubt myself a lot. And there was someone that has been in my journey for the past year and a half who has helped me so much. And this person is probably going to listen to this and be like, oh, that's me. So yeah, I've got to thank them for everything that they've done, for listening to me, for supporting me, and making me see sometimes that, for example, that him calling me after 10 p.m. is not okay. And that him coming into my house is not okay. He has no business coming into my house. He can pick up the kids from the front door and that's it. So yeah, I think those things have definitely helped. But I do know that there's loads of room for improvement.
Did you feel a bit ashamed when it got to like confessing it to your mom or to your friends? Or
not my mom, because I knew she could understand. Unfortunately, within the Latin community, it's just such a normal thing that sometimes they don't take it as serious as it should be. I don't think my mum has taken it as serious as she does now, because he used to throw his charm around her as well, in it. So it was hard for her to sometimes understand. My friends, yes, definitely. I have friends that I've fallen out with, but I don't talk to as much anymore, because when I've tried to tell them, they've just laughed it off and not been understanding about it, because where they've never been through it, they will never understand. And they've been like my closest friends. So yeah, I was ashamed to tell them, and I had my reasons for doing so, and I was right. On the other hand, I've had friends that I have been very understanding and have been the ones that have quietly just sat there and watched me live my life and told me, but not gotten too involved because they're scared of my reaction. But now are able to say, you know what, Drea, like, you was going through this, and I didn't want to have an opinion on these things because I didn't want to hurt you or whatever.
Mama's Code.
You know, we know that a lot of people are still going through this, and a lot of people are quiet and suffering in silence because of that, because they feel ashamed or they feel like embarrassed or they feel scared as well. But it's not you know, it's like what we messaged you last week or the week before, was that we can't speak from like, why did you not leave earlier? We can't say things like this because we're not in those shoes, and we know that it goes way beyond giving up and going kind of thing. So as like a friend or a family member, how can we help someone that is in that?
As friends, we need to stop ignoring that domestic violence exists. And when our friends are telling us that they're going through these things, we need to stop like brushing it and just like, oh yeah, whatever. We need to actually listen to these people because they are actually going through things, and, you know, trying to help out. For example, if you know they've got kids, you know what, it doesn't cost you to say, do you know what, I'm going to take the kids out for you for one day. honestly, or I'm going to take the kids to the park for you, or I'm going to come round, I'm going to cook for you, or I've bought you some groceries. Like, okay, maybe sometimes as friends, you know, like you don't have the money or whatever. But one of the things that I thought as well, if you've got a group of friends and you know that someone's going through like domestic violence, even say, do you know what, as friends, let's all come with the money together, put the money together to pay for therapy for my friend, or let's look for therapy for her. Like I just let all my letters and stuff, I just ignored them completely because I was too scared to even face the reality of what I was going through. So even just check up on that friend and be like, is there anything that I can help you? Just be more hands-on in terms of like dealing with the stuff that they need to deal with. Any little helps, to be honest, and just be there, more there for them. Sometimes we isolate ourselves, but and as much as sometimes we genuinely do want to be on our own, sometimes we actually just want people to make an effort and say, no, we're coming anyway to check up on you, honestly. So I think, yeah, just check up on that friend. It's just like with mental health, empathy and solidarity are like so important.
Sorry, I know we keep saying we're going to wrap it up, but like it's just, I think it's just such a big topic, and there's just so many things that go into it that you just, like, as an outsider, you just kind of think like, fuck, man, like how and why do we have to go through these? But I forgot the question.
It's mad because anyone listening will probably think like, but how could you be so stupid to like, you know, allow that and accept that? But when you're stuck in something like that, it's so hard to escape it.
Why did you decide to speak now? Like you said it a lot in your lives that you didn't want to come across like the bitter baby mummy, and to actually post conversations and voice notes and go so deep into it.
So I started it off, like I said, a couple of weeks with the whole his current partner, but that was like, I've only got like 200 followers on that, and the most people that used to watch my story was like 60 people. So it was just like me, you know, the rants and whatever. I've always, like I keep saying, I've always wanted to do something in terms of domestic violence, so I knew I wanted to start that eventually, and that's my mummy page. I post everything, so I didn't see any problem with doing what I did. So then when I did the racism thing, it was because it really, really got to me. It irritated me so much that someone like him that refers to me as, why are you talking to me like a black girl? And I've got several people that can back up my statement. I was like, how dare you? And one of the main things that has always irritated me about him is the fact that he is on a platform continuously talking about domestic violence, but you are an abuser yourself. And it really has always, I felt offended by it. Honestly, I felt offended by it. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to say what I'm going to say. And that's it. I didn't really think of it. I think it was just a moment thing. It was just a moment. I remember being here with my sister and saying, nah, I can't have this. I'm going on my Instagram and I'm going to post that he has said this to me and blah, blah, blah. Yes, all of that. And I was like, yes, I've done it now. His ex-girlfriend has messaged me and said, I can vouch for you that he has said that, and I can vouch for you that he's disrespected you, and I'm so sorry he's done that to you. And that was what gave me the strength. He literally needs to be stopped, because he's not just hurting women, he's like actually such a disrespectful person. And that's definitely was giving me the strength to move on from it, stop talking about him, and just continue with whatever I'm going to do next.
This is that turning point for you, that you've done this course, you've got your experience, you've seen how many women can relate to you in one way or the other, whether they've been, you know, whether they've experienced domestic abuse, whether it was physical, emotional. You can now actually project your energy away from him and away from that toxic environment that you were with, and grow strength from that, and be a better person for your kids, for yourself, for other women, and actually do something for you. And you know what, whatever it is that you do, if we can help you, you can count on us for whatever. Because just to know that you've spoken out on an abusive relationship that you were with, that you still have to be in, because at the end of the day, he is your kid's dad.
Stuck with him for another years.
Exactly. He can't just die there and then, you know. You've done your lives. Once you log off those lives, you know that you said it yourself, that you didn't know what he was gonna say after this. And you have to deal with this for the rest of however many years he is alive or he wants to be in his children's life. So it's not easy to speak out.
Obviously, it's no secret that he's probably going to listen to it. So if he does, I'm not doing this with a bad intention. I'm just telling my story. I've not once mentioned his name. I'm not trying, obviously, for a lot of people, they're going to know who I'm talking about. And the only message that I have for him is that I hope and pray that he finds the help that he needs, that he grows as a person, and that he can finally find the courage to just accept his wrongs and continue to grow as a person. Because my main thing has been with him is that he hasn't worked on himself enough before getting into relationships. So even if he stays in this relationship, which I have no problem with, and I shouldn't because it's none of my business, is that he continues to work on himself for my kids. It's not about me and him or how I feel towards him. It's for my children, because I want my kids to have the best future ever. So all I can ask of him is just to continue to become a better version of himself every day, and to genuinely start working on himself for the kids to be able to look up to him. That's all. And if he's going to be in the kid's life, he needs to put the work in. And if he doesn't want to be, then the door is there. And that's all I can say.
Mic drop. So we usually like to wrap it up with a golden tip. Oh, before the golden tip, I wanted to say, that with whatever you're going to do in the domestic violence part, you shining your light, and like Jess has mentioned, your courage to speak out will help any girl, woman, even man going through domestic abuse. They will see the red flags. They've seen it, they've heard it from you. So we know that talking about this, and you're there to vouch for it, it's not easy. It's a stigma, because then you'll get the, oh, what if I talk out and then I get negative comments? You're already suffering from mental health because of what you've been through. So talking about it is not going to be easy. So you've taken that step, and I can guarantee you that a lot of women will learn from this, and it will help so many women. And I'm so proud.
Thank you, honestly. And as for what I plan to do next, I haven't got the ball rolling on anything, but I have several ideas. And yes, whoever is willing to join me, I'm more than happy. So once I have like a full idea of what I'm going to do, I definitely will keep you guys posted, because it would be lovely for us to all work together, because that's what it's about, just coming together, to be honest.
And you know what, just to emphasize on what Erica's just said, it's like, at the end of the day, we're not here to eavesdrop or mention names or whatever. It's just to voice out your feelings, and your voice is what someone else is going through.
You're right, because I got several messages from different girls that told me that they'd been through what I'd been through, or similar stories. But two of the girls that have already told me that they're willing to work with me with whatever I do, one of them said that she completely related to everything. And one of the main things that she said she related with me was the fact that, because we're quite strong personalities, and it's understandable, because a lot of people could look at me and think, how could you out of all people? No, you've definitely not been through that. So yeah, definitely. And that was what gave me encouragement as well, knowing that there's other people. It's sad to know that you can relate to people that have gone through things like that, but at the same time, it's a good feeling, because you're not alone in this journey.
Absolutely.
As for the golden tips, you guys want me to give them to you?
Yes, a golden tip.
She made a list. Guys, for anyone listening, Andrea literally has 3 pages back to front of golden tips. So listen.
So go get a cup of tea or something so you can hear
Get a notepad, record this, save this episode and share it with everyone. Go for it.
So stop blaming yourself. Focus on yourself, for yourself. Be kind to yourself and speak well and kindly to yourself. You need balance, patience. There's a purpose in everything that we go through, and these are the things that shape us as human beings, the hardships that we go through. Be proud of your journey and what you have overcome. Use this negative and turn it into a positive, and take time to heal.
Look at that.
Thank you so much, Andrea, for sharing it. We know it's not the easiest thing.
Thank you,
you know,
girls,
we're-
for having me. Honestly, it's not easy as well in terms of who we was going to speak about. So I'm grateful to you guys for allowing me to be able to voice my story, even though it's not even, like I always keep saying, it's not even a half of it, but I was able to at least tell some of it, and that means a lot to me, honestly.
And I just wanted to say that every woman's success should be an inspiration to another, because we are strongest when we cheer each other on. Mama's Code out. Mwah.
Mama's Code.
I better don't roll your eyes at us.